So I didn't want to talk super long about this, and I didn't want to make a big episode out of it or anything like that. But I had it on my mind, and I thought the best way to do it is to use the Backpack Show as my backdrop for it. So no co-host per se, no guest, no whatever, just me and this concept. And you're very welcome to leave comments live if you're catching this live. My idea is that there's a lot of people wondering about, should they do video, should they do a show like this, should they put together something out there, because so many people have said do video. And one of the reasons that people don't want to do it is because they feel bad, or they feel worried, or they feel unsure of the platform and that sort of a thing. But the other reason is because you're not sure how to go about it, and you're not sure what kind of content is useful, you're not sure what you should make, you're not sure where it should go, and all that kind of a thing. But the way that you can start to figure that out is you can spend time in the places where this content goes, and that becomes really important. You can really start to spend a little time getting to know the various communities that you can serve, and that changes everything. Because once you start spending some time on YouTube, you see what makes a good YouTube show. You see what makes compelling content for YouTube. When I wanted really bad to get my LinkedIn Live, Professor Nez said, you've got to spend a lot of time. So you got to do 10 consecutive days of uploading a video to LinkedIn, because they won't let you have live yet. So upload it. I did 10 consecutive days of that. I also did all kinds of commenting. And so I went around and looked at all these various posts, and I added my 2 cents and whatever. And I just really showed that I was an active commenting part of the LinkedIn community. Immediately, I got my second request to be a LinkedIn guy handled. And so it's not just enough to be there. You've got to really connect and serve. Legendary George B. Thomas says it's all about serving a community. And it is, but it's also about serving them the kinds of things they're used to consuming in that place. Like if you don't watch, like let's say you want to make a cooking video show or something like that. Well, if you don't watch shows like Binging with Babish, if you don't watch even something like Good Mythical Kitchen or some of those kinds of shows, then you don't know what kind of opportunities are out there. If you're thinking you want to do, well, let's look at the show I make, the Backpack Show with Carrie Gorgone. We make a show that it's business advice, business success, business insight. And so the idea is that instead of doing a business show like everybody else, we do it like some of the shows we like from places like YouTube and places like Facebook, where it's not the same kind of format. And so by choosing which kind of place you want to go, you also have to spend and do the time. People will always say, well, I'm not very big on YouTube. And so you don't do anything on YouTube, but you also don't take the effort to go and actually watch YouTube stuff. My number 2 place I open my browser for these days is YouTube. Not because I sure want to entertain myself all day, but because if YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world, I should probably learn how to create content that people will pay attention to on YouTube, right? So why is YouTube the number 2 search engine in the world? There's a couple of reasons. One is, unless you're a band, it doesn't matter. Music, a lot of music played on YouTube. The other is how-to information. So one of the most powerful formats in the world on YouTube is how-to. But you get to learn really quick what people like and don't like by seeing what trends and what manages to be interesting. And so product reviews that are straight up product reviews, some people love, some people hate. So you start to see what's the difference between those. But if you don't spend the time there, if you don't spend time going and looking and sort of seeking out what's interesting in a video, then how are you going to know what to do with yourself? So it becomes important. So I want to just really quick just share my screen and share some, what's going on over here. So my YouTube, it's by the way, because I'm live, the first one is me. I don't actually subscribe to and look at my own stuff, but there's comedy stuff. There's video game stuff. There's how to cook lamb with Binging with Babish. There's Damian Ross, who's on day 905 of his road to 1,000. So he's getting closer. I have a lot of comedians, a lot of stuff. And then, you can go over and you can look at trending. And so when you start looking at trending, what's out there right now? Dune's trailer. Oddly enough, an interview with Tekashi 6ix9ine. I'm not going to watch, but kind of interesting. Videos, like I said, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, inside the WAP video. So yeah, because making of a video. A colorblind person who finally had the chance to see colors. And California wildfires. This is what's driving YouTube right now. Now, your business might not immediately connect with that. Hi, Deanna. Good to see you. Your business might not immediately connect with those topics I just showed you, But even if you watch those topics and see why they are trending, what puts them together, what makes them interesting, what's useful about that, when you look at, for instance, I'll go back to my homepage for a quick second, which shows a mix of things I subscribe to and also some things that I just enjoy. So this is Binging with Babish. I'll turn the sound down just so we could do this. Binging with Babish has a whole big series where he will make videos. Hang on one second. I'll hit this button here. Boop. Oh, I wanted to do this one. Boop. So Babish will make these videos where he covers stuff from various comic or movie spots, so park and recreation, or something that was talked about on Community. In this case, it's a 3-day potato salad with SpongeBob SquarePants. So what do you watch? You watch the start of this where the food product was referenced. Babish gets into the shot. That's not his real name, but he goes by Babish on the show. He does a lot of hand video type stuff. His head is not in the shot for most of the time, but then he eventually throws it in every now and again. So as he's making this, you get to see what kind of things work visibly. You get to see what parts of the thing he speeds up, what part he does real time. Notice that my video with you right now is just real time. It's just steady flow. It's like any streamer's video, right? So that's a different way to create it. So why did I do that? Because streaming is one way to get attention. And, having an interview show like I do with Carrie, the Backpack Show, 10 a.m. Eastern every day is another. So Courtney says, I daily view what I've subscribed to, and I toss some things into the watch later queue so I can play it on my TV later. Yeah, absolutely. It has to matter. Emotions are the subplot of news. Absolutely. And remember that, news can be news to your space. If you want to talk all about startup energy, my buddy James Andrews, Key Influencer, he talks to the startup community, and he talks a lot about the big LA scene and the Atlanta scene, and he keeps that kind of information going. Suze says that she loves Binging with Babish. It's just such a great show. My son Vince kind of reconnected me to it. George says, dissect success, tweak for you, create and launch. There you go. Spoken like a true expert, because George B. Thomas is great about finding the good recipes and making them work. This is how it works. So like, if you look at why I make the show, I make it, where I put it and all that sort of a thing, the answers are, I wanted to do a business show that was different than my friends. I wanted to do a business show where I didn't just sit around interviewing my friends. I love every one of you. I've just had you on every other show I've ever done because it's marketing idiots talking to marketing idiots, right? And I figured we might as well do something different. Next week on the show is Sir Mix-a-Lot. Next week on the show is my favorite beatboxer in the world, Butterscotch. We had a sex therapist on our first ever LinkedIn Live video. So, it's definitely shooting for something different than what other people are getting. I want to end just by saying that the logic behind it, what makes my show, this show, work, is that one, I have great guests. Two, I have a great kind of deep bench of topics and people. And for instance, Carrie Gorgone picks a lot of the guests. I pick some guests, and we have different angles. She's always thinking proactively, like, oh, I've always wanted to interview a nun. And I always think, oh, this is interesting. I just read this book. I want to talk to that person or something like that. Hi, Ben. One of the other most important parts of our show is that we interact with people, and that these kinds of comments flowing through, we talk to them. Have you been on other people's shows, live or otherwise? Well, especially live. Have you been on people's live shows and they don't even recognize that you're there? They don't acknowledge? Well, they're missing one of the most powerful parts of making a show like this. Now, you can't interrupt all the time. And when I do the show with Carrie, and when we have a bunch of guests, it is really hard to dive right into jumping into the comments all the time, because we have to stay on the questions. We're watching the clock the whole time to make sure we bring the show in as close to 40 minutes as we can. I really wanted to do a half an hour, but we couldn't even do that. And then what we also do is we try really hard to tell a narrative so that you can kind of leave with it. So that's what matters. Greg says, we've got a brand new, more better set of idiots. That's absolutely true. Butterscotch is so talented, says Andy. Absolutely, Andy. And I could not believe she said yes. I was just, she's one of those people as a musician that I just rave about. And I send people her links over and over and over and over again. And I just finally tweeted, I said something really nice and she liked my tweet. And I was like, forget it, I'm asking her. And I did. And she said yes. So that happens. The other thing we do really importantly with the platform, and my point about you getting out to all these platforms, is it's really important that you go where these shows are made and you connect with the people. I've got to run, by the way, because I'm hitting the 10-minute mark and I wanted to stop before it. But Deanna says, I would love to know how you prep your guests. No. And when I used to produce television, open line phone shows were the best, most popular. Yeah. So even though I got to go, Deanna, I will tell you this. That's this topic for another time, but I'm really grateful. Thank you, everyone, for taking a chance to listen to me. Drop a line, Chris@chrisbrogan.com. Remember to come see the Backpack Show. It is really the best thing that I've done in a million years and definitely worth your time. So like my grandmother always says,